So you gonna tell me I'm not supposed to sit here and think that the niggas get drunk and experiment just like us? Not even experiment, bitch, because I've been gay. But get down with their friends like we do.
Well, first off, no. No, we don't do that. That's just to get that out the way, make it very clear, very quick. Second thing, I didn't even finish watching. I didn't even watch his video as far as John Buchanan, like John Cannon, the dude on the screen. I didn't even watch it because number 3, today is your lucky day. If you watch the channel, you know I said that I wanted to touch on like studs and just certain stuff. This gives me a valid opportunity to go through the whole spectrum of what I think when it comes to all this lettuce, bacon, guacamole shit. This just gives me the premise because this is the thing. The premise in this video is something that I've been saying offline for years, for a long time. And it's that women do not understand men's sexuality. They just don't. And that they are also completely different. And that is why when it comes to a lot of this shit, right? I've had conversations with different rooms of different women about them either wanting to peg men or knowing men who got pegged. And it's dudes, we already know what it is. Universally, you gay once you cross that line. You're a gay man. You're a gay man. Women will sit there and say, nah, but he's straight though. But he's straight though. But he's straight. He's getting a cylinder like a fucking silicone cylinder shoved into his asshole that was molded after an unrealistic sized penis. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that he is straight. And this is the thing. I've told women in these conversations, we can't have this conversation because for you to say that he is straight after that, you do not understand male sexuality as far as heterosexual male. So today I'm going to give you my raw, uncut thoughts. I'm not sugarcoating shit today, bro. Today is your lucky day if you click this fucking video. And let me just give this disclaimer before we get into this. I don't have no animosity or hatred or anything like that towards anybody gay or nothing like that. I am not no anti-gay, we got to get rid of the gays and all that stuff. No. So none of this is hatred. Just got to get that out the way so you understand what I'm saying. It's just real. It's just really how things work. Really what it is. And before I even get into, the explanations and things like that, just the dialogue, I just got to set the stage. I don't know if this has been something throughout the course of history, throughout the course of humanity, or if this is something to where, okay, we've gotten to a point where the bisexuality in women has spiked. I could tell you one thing, the openness of the bisexuality has spiked crazily in the past 30 to 40 years. And again, not homosexuality, but bisexuality. But just to give you some insight where this is going to lead as far as me going through this spectrum of homosexuality, bisexuality, and stuff like that, is going to lead to us coming back to women experimenting and men not experimenting. That's where it's all going to come back to. That's going to be the root of everything. And the audacity or the gall for a woman to even ask a question like this, or to even just ponder in her mind that this is a possibility. Now that we got all of that out the way, we got to talk about heterosexual men and gay men first. We have to talk about the differences, right? Let's start here. When we talk about men, and I think this is universal regardless, the way we work, we are visual creatures, right? We are visual creatures. So we got to start here. We get attracted, heterosexual men, to women based on what we see. We see you first that is what we are attracted to. If we see something enticing enough, it can then begin to send signals from our brain through our cardiovascular system to our penis, through our nervous system, cardiovascular to our penis, to where blood begins to flow through our penis and we begin to become erect based on what we are seeing. A man can look at a butt and he can look at it and just stare at it for motherfucking 2 minutes, 60 seconds. If it is a butt he is attracted to, there doesn't have to be a conscious thought that goes through his head. His motherfucking meat is going to begin to fill with blood. So do you understand? Men are visual creatures like that. Women do not work like that. That is a fundamental difference. Women don't see men or anything else. And then, the blood begins to flow to something, and they coochie it's not the same. They don't work the same as us. That is how come they need foreplay. That is how come you hear like we're like a light switch as far as how our attraction works. And they're more like a volume knob or a temperature knob to where you got to slowly crank it up and slowly crank it up and stuff like that. So they are wired different. Women are wired different. So now that you have that fundamental understanding of men, let me just give you something very quick. So we get attracted when we see women and stuff like that. What I'm about to say is foundational. And most men probably haven't even thought about this, but they've had a similar reaction at some point. With that understanding, and this would be to women, if you're able to process things logically, as far as a woman listening to this, what do you think men feel? Or what do you think is possible for men to feel when they see two other men kissing, right? What do you think they feel when they see another man smack a dude's butt cheek or something like that? What do you think a heterosexual man feels when they see something like the Pride Parade stuff to where it's a man running around in a thong and it's like shaking his butt or whatever the case may be? Now, there's probably some liberal man or somebody who's trying to posture like they're extra masculine that's going to say, I don't feel anything when I see any of that. I've never felt anything. That's a problem with you. Those men are full of shit and out of touch. Because the reaction of most men, the reaction that I've seen, not just on TV, not just amongst other groups of men that have nothing to do with each other, universally in the white community, black community, we go all the way to India. It is disgust. It is disgust. Why would a heterosexual man feel disgust when they see that? Because it's literally the complete polar opposite of what we like to see. Think about men, as far as heterosexual men. We will watch heterosexual porn. We will watch another man on the screen fuck a woman and get aroused by that. Seeing any type of, display of affection between two other men is the literal polar opposite of that. So in one case, you have arousal, right? Actual primal arousal. When you see the complete opposite of that, I don't even want to say it's a fucking turn on, because it's not even about a turn. It's about, again, disgust. This is not something that you want to see. Now, does that mean that, men in general or just men that feel this way or have the disgust, they like, oh man, men can't be with each other? No, it's just that we don't want to see it. That's why we don't want to be exposed to a lot of that shit. And there's probably an idiot listening to this like, oh, well, why you concerned? And, oh, you just rejected and all you like to see that, like some stupid shit. The thing is, and this is the truth, most people know it's disgusting. Most people know it's disgusting. This is not something I really should have to harp on, because that's where the shame comes from, the disgust, if we're being honest. But let's go past just that. And the reason I shouldn't have to harp on this, the reason I shouldn't have to harp on this is because even with women not understanding men's sexuality, what did they understand? They understand that it's disgusting. They understand that it's disgusting. And I don't want to get too graphic, but this is the thing. The reason they understand that is because what do women do? They weaponize a lot of heterosexual women, and this especially happens in the black community. They weaponize homosexuality against straight men. They will be allies with these LGBTQ dudes, the whole spectrum. They will tell people like me I'm homophobic for saying stuff like this. But then in the same breath, they will try and say some shit like, oh, you must be gay. And the reason that they do that is because they know that it'll get under a man's skin, but it goes further than just that. This is also tremendous in the black community. What about all the Boss Man D-Lo is going through this right now. If you want to see this shit in HD, just go look up the Boss Man D-Lo shit. And when I say that, I'm not talking about nothing as far as any visuals. I'm talking about women doing what I'm about to say. Women have such a big disgust and disdain as far as black women against all the DL men. All the DL men. All the down low dudes. They absolutely do not want a man that is having sex with other men. Universally, you will see that all across the spectrum. Now, the funny thing is, this is funny to me. I found out something recently that I never knew was even I didn't even think this was a possibility. There are chicks out here who are, friends with openly gay dudes, right? Having sex with some of these gay dudes. Like it's some of the most ridiculous stuff that I've ever heard of. Like it's like they are having sex with these. So it's like some of the craziest shit ever, bro. But I'm sure it's an extreme minority of women doing that because that's not something you hear about widespread. That's not something you hear about widespread. But the down low shaming is something tremendous. And the shaming, they try to say, well, no, he should just come out and and if we could just accept him. All of that shit is disingenuous. Because at the end of the day, even if he did come out, you want nothing to do with him sexually, and that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. But the thing about that is, the reason you don't want anything to do with him is because the thought of having sex with a man that has sex with other men disgusts you. It disgusts you. So not only do a lot of black women, but women in general really, weaponize gayness against heterosexual men to try and emasculate them, but they also, support these guys and try to shame you for anything you say about them after weaponizing that, the homosexuality against heterosexual men. But the other thing that they do, they show and prove that it disgusts them as well, which is crazy. So it's like we're being gaslit as far as men. We're being gaslit for saying some of the things that we say or having the feelings that we feel. We're being gaslit by people who feel the same way as us. But just so we can wrap this portion up, this is the thing that women don't understand about, which we're going to get to the spectrum of women in a moment, and that's going to be the best part. That's going to be the best part when we talk about female homosexuality. It doesn't work. Men, it just doesn't work the same as women. Women get penetrated during heterosexual sex. Men don't get penetrated. It's not typical for men to get penetrated during heterosexual sex. Masculinity, the masculine fucking, what do you call it? The masculine heterosexual brain. There is a barrier. There's a barrier that we have from gay shit in general, but there is a barrier to where a heterosexual man really can't even think about being penetrated, bro. Like that, bro, that shit is so bro. Yeah, I can't even express, like, just, I can't, I'm trying to find the words And the reason I'm trying to find the words is I can't express to you how unimaginable that thought is for a heterosexual man. Like, you have men in prison who are heterosexual who getting raped is their biggest fear. It is their biggest fear. If it was something that dudes could just get over, they would just bust that pussy open. But that is not something that is supposed to happen to a heterosexual man. There is a mental barrier to where heterosexual men can't even imagine that shit for themselves. Don't even want to imagine it for anybody else. So it's an extreme barrier that heterosexual men have. If you let a woman slip a finger in your ass and that's cool with you, is it heterosexual sex? Yes. But that is suspect. And every single man knows that's a slippery slope. We could sit here and just say, we could label that as suspect, but this is the thing. That's me trying to be lenient for the video. Most men are going to say that's flat out gay. Most even gay men are going to say that's gay. Do you understand? Even gay men are going to say getting fingered in your butt is gay. And that's how come you'll have bitches like Superhead, right? Be playing with Eddie Winslow putting butt plugs and shit in his butt. And then when they break up, it was all cool when they was doing it. But she comes out to embarrass him with the anal butt plug play shit. Because she knows not only is it shameful, but it's disgusting. But she is a fucking concubine, bed wench ass bitch. So she is going to engage in fucking anything. I'm not even about to go down the spectrum. To get anything that even resembles a dick in your ass, you're gay. You're flat out gay. You have something going on with your mind that the average heterosexual male does not. Fuck average, that the heterosexual male does not. Just the whole spectrum of heterosexual males do not have that going. There is no in between. There is no bisexuality when it comes to men. If you want to be like, oh yeah, well, there are guys who fuck women and you have to understand what I'm saying. When you cross that mental point, that barrier that keeps you from getting fucked in the ass, you're on the other side, even if you go and fuck 1,000 women after that. You could still be, okay, you fuck bitches. That's cool. You're gay. You're gay. That's what it is. That's what it is. Because women don't have that mental barrier, which we're going to go over shortly. That's how come she's asking questions like this, because she doesn't understand that men have a mental barrier that is fortified in titanium, fucking 80 feet of titanium. Nothing can get through that wall. No dick could budge through that wall. The stuff you would have to do to a man for his mind to get up, bruh, it would have to be traumatizing for a man to get over that wall as far as a regular heterosexual man. But the lack of understanding and the naivete of women, they think that it's possible for a man to get penetrated by a dick and still be heterosexual. Even if it's a plastic dick, a silicone dick, a fucking contraption, they still think, well, it's not another man back there, so he's heterosexual. And then they get surprised when the nigga is gay. That's literally on some real shit. That is how naive women are, and that's how much they don't understand this shit. And that is how come you have the women asking questions like this. But we have to get to why women are the way they are. So let's go there. But before I get out of here to the next part, I got to be clear on this because I don't want any, misinterpretations of what I'm saying. Men don't get, like most heterosexual men, we don't get disgusted at the sight of a gay man. So I don't want you to think we just get disgusted by the existence of gay men and just them being there. No. When we talk about anything in the spectrum of intimacy and sexual acts between two men, that is where the disgust comes from. And again, because I was very clear throughout most of that. Women hold that same disgust. They just not going to be real about it, especially when it comes to their partner. Before I get into talking about women's bisexuality, we got to talk about this quote. One of my commenters said, I really don't think the average guy can handle the abyss that is female sexuality. Now, shout out to him. That is a bar. That is a bar, because even myself, certain stuff I'm aware of, I still can't handle it. Let me show you something real quick. Brace yourself.
This is what we're doing. At this point, y'all just taking advantage. At this point, y'all just trying to disrespect us.
Let me just lay this out so I don't got to go super deep on it. The average woman is way, 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 way freakier than the average man. Do you have guys out here into some insane kinks? Yes. You got, there are images that I've seen of a dude on his knees strapped to the back of a chair with a tube, tied to his nose, and the tube is also tied to a chick's butt. And she was sitting there playing video games, farting, and it's like it goes into the gas mask that this dude got on. So he was just in head. So, yeah, there are some crazy things that some dudes do. Those dudes are a minority. When you look at that toy that I had, men get shamed for having that type of stuff. I don't even think like 40% of men have sex toys. I really don't think 40% of men have sex toys. If I was to put a percentage, which you can't, there's no statistics on this, I don't think, and I'm not about to look them up, but I will be willing to bet. I don't give a fuck if it's 51%, 68%, 73%, the majority of women have sex toys. You cannot convince me otherwise. The majority of women have some type of tool for their coochie. It gets so crazy that some chicks got, like, how, okay, you as a man, you get a dresser drawer. Like, what do you got in all the drawers? You got clothes, and then you got the top drawer. You might have some other shit in there. A bitch will open a drawer, and the drawer be dedicated to nothing but sex toys. Like, she got a James Bond arsenal of sex toys. Remember I talked about that barrier as far as men doing anything anally, as far as like heterosexual men? They don't have that. They have, as far as women, they don't have a barrier to stopping them from doing that. Not the same one that we have. They just have a barrier of, that's probably going to hurt. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to shit all over my man's cock. That's the barrier that they have. They don't have a barrier to where, like, this is going to strip me of my womanhood or anything like that. And a lot of chicks, they will do the enema. They will fucking flush their whole insides out just so, they boyfriend that came home from a prison stint that they swear is heterosexual can fuck they butt all night. Man, want threesomes and stuff like that. But you got to think about the dynamics of them. And this is how come I always say I don't want a threesome. When you look at the dynamics of a male heterosexual threesome, when it's one man, two women, sometimes, very rare occasions, you're going to have two freaks that you don't have any attachment to. But if you have an attachment to one of those chicks, whether it's your girlfriend, a chick you've been fucking for a long time, women can't just come in the bedroom and just be mutually freaky and detached or nothing like, no. The most of them that you have these threesome situations with, especially if you're in a relationship, you got to manage the woman's emotions while this is happening. Right. So let's just get that out the way. Everybody knows what that is, right? When we talk about a woman getting trained, right? Only that situation happens only one of two ways. It only happens either A, if the dude is a cuck weirdo, like just flat out one of these dudes who date porn stars and stuff like that. And she like, I'm going to work, and work is getting plowed by a fucking 9-inch cock, for two scenes, getting bukkake. She's doing a bukkake session. She got to use all the clear seal and stuff like that before she come home, because it's like, man, she got to make sure the nut is off of her. She got to make sure the enzymes that came out of these other men's balls is not coming home with her. She got to shampoo her scalp, deep cleanse, Pantene Pro V. That's what she got to do. So you got some weirdos who date porn stars and just be like, oh yeah, my girl could fuck anybody. We in an open relationship. So you got weirdos like that. But then you have the other situation, which still might be that first situation. The other situation is the guys don't love you. The guys don't give a fuck about you. They don't got no attachment to you. They don't care. And when you see an actual train that has nothing to do with a porn star, that's what it is in most cases. It is a woman. And there are women who are in relationships and just regular women who fantasize about having two guys at once. There are a lot of them who actually fantasize about it but don't follow through on it. But when a woman gets to get gangbang and stuff like that, she doesn't have to manage any man's emotions. She don't give a fuck about how they feel. She just get shit. She don't even got to give a fuck if they nut. She doesn't even have to give that much of a fuck. All she has to do is lay there and just fucking get plowed and jack somebody, just do a little bit of the work, just a little bit. I'm not going to get deep on this story, but I heard a story. We'll just act like it's hypothetical, right? There was a chick that got brought to a crib, and I'm talking about, man, like the whole, long story short, bro. It started off with the whole house hit, but then like motherfuckers start making phone calls, more people start coming over. Nigga, the block come through. Niggas start coming from other sides of town to hit this chick, bro. Got obliterated. Bro. Got obliterated. So many dudes hit. Like it's the people who, this hypothetical, the people involved have never seen nothing like it. What have I also mentioned? And I'm not going to pull no punches, man. I've mentioned on this channel, the women have rape fantasies. And I'm not saying it's all of them, but and I'm not even saying it's a majority, but it's a big chunk of them that have those fantasies. I am pretty sure there's not a big chunk of men that fantasize about being SA'd or raped, however you want to put it. Having, like having a forceful sexual situation. It's just something that's not in us. Now, you could get into all the science and biology. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm not saying it's not no freaky men out there. I'm not saying that most men ain't freaks. I ain't even saying that. It's just that when we get to the freakiness, when we talk about the average level of freakiness in the average woman, it is higher than the average level of freakiness in the average man. It's absolutely unprecedented, not close, not even in the same fucking realm. The stuff a lot of guys would like to do, oh my God, like chicks will consider it vanilla. Like as far as just some regular, I'm gonna give her back shots and that's vanilla. You gotta get the hum, like you gotta get one of those humming joints and put it on her clit, and you gotta be like, it's bruh, it can get wicked. It can get wicked if you really start to get into how freaky these chicks can be and what they into, all the role playing and shit. No, man. I'm gonna just leave that there so we can move on. I think that's something that everybody will agree with. I shouldn't have to flesh that out that much. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about bisexual women. Even studs, lesbians, as far as butch lesbians, they don't even, from what I've seen, from what they have actually said, from the ones that I know, they don't even like bisexual chicks. The reason they don't like bisexual chicks is because these chicks will get in a relationship with these studs and then cheat on them with an actual man. And that's where we have to start. The rampant bisexuality amongst females, and just not even just how it's socially acceptable, because that's one thing, but the fact that you see it so much and so many chicks engage in it, that's crazy. That's crazy. So another thing I'm just going to throw out there real quick, this is going to segue me into the next point. The whole born gay argument really gets deflated by women. It gets deflated by their actions, because that's something to where, like, if you're talking about men, it seems like it could hold weight, because no dude is going to do what I'm about to mention as far as what chicks do. Now, we can pretend the chicks is born bisexual or something like that. You could pretend that. But there are two ways And two reasons that I've seen the chicks actually get into air quote experimenting when they've never done it before or just deciding to get into some gay action. It's all the same shit. It's two reasons, and men don't engage in these two reasons. So let's go over the first. The first is these are some freaky assholes, and they just want their coochie ate by a chick. They just want to see what it's like to get their coochie ate by somebody that has a coochie and understands a coochie in a way that a man never could. And this is how you get a lot of fake dykes or a lot of fake bisexual chicks. And if you wonder what I mean by fake, it means they not scissoring, they not eating no pussy themselves, they not doing nothing other than getting their pussy ate. They not even putting on a strap. They not, because they gonna be fucking with a stud more than likely because these is feminine chicks. They are not engaging in any of the sex themselves. They're just getting head. These types of chicks are just going to the other side to get some neck. And I've talked to chicks who have done this, and guess what? They didn't like the experience of being with a woman. Some of them didn't. Some of them did. But there are ones who really didn't like the experience. When it comes to a man, that is not something weird and not going like no again, if you're a heterosexual man, you're not even considering engaging in any gay activity. You're not even considering it. Now, when we get to talking about prison and how dudes get turned out in prison and all types of shit like that, that's a whole different conversation that, I'll be honest, as a dude that's never been to prison, I'm not equipped to have. And again, that's a weird environment where, you know, everybody is prisoners and shit like this. So it's not a normal, natural environment. So we're just going to leave that completely out of the conversation. A lot of dudes in the hood that's down low as thugs and stuff like that, and they come from prison in most cases. I don't have enough knowledge to speak on that. But when we talk about the actual real world, the free world outside, no heterosexual man. And I think this even applies to prison as well. But again, that's a whole scope of different shit. So I don't want to really be too in the mix with that. But no heterosexual man is trying to get top from another man. You're gay if the thought crosses your mind. If the thought crosses your mind, you entertain it and your dick gets hard at the thought of another man. Like, I don't even want to be that graphic because, you know, it's dudes listening. Y'all know what it is, man. I'm not even trying to gross y'all out or nothing like that. But back to women. Women will go and fully engage in that shit with no problem. It's no barriers, nothing stopping them from doing that. They really are that thirsty and that fucking perverted that they want to go over and just get their coochie ate. Now, the second thing is something I always harp on, but I don't know if I have ever harped on it on this channel. I harp about it in real life all the time in all types of environments. One of the things about women that is very unique is they can hate they can hate themselves in their homosexuality. They can hate themselves in a homosexuality. They could develop a hatred for men to where they say, you know what, I am so tired of dealing with men. Let me try women out. Let me just start here. No, this is one of the things, like, no man that is heterosexual can hate women so much that he decides to start engaging in sword fights. It's just not something that happens, bro. It's not in the realm of possibility. It's just not. It's just not. This is how come you'll see chicks say something like, oh man, y'all hate women so much. Is you gay? Is you gay? You'll see them say shit like that. And there are just a lot of narratives like that. Well, man, you know, these niggas, they hate women so much and they got so much to say about women. Why don't you get a man? They saying that again for the same reason that I mentioned in the last segment. You know, they weaponizing the gayness, but that's actually a projection because that's the real train of thought that they actually be having. And it's really amazing and fascinating, bro, because it's like a chick will have like let me just paint a picture. So boom. And this is actually shit I've actually seen, bro. A chick will have 2 baby dads, right? She'll have 3, 4 kids, right? She will have never messed with girls in her life, right? But this is the thing about her. She keeps picking the worst men. She keeps picking the bad boy who is always cheating on her and shit like that, that always get a bunch of bitches. We not even gonna put no abuse on the situation. We just gonna say that the dude is a cheater and he don't really give a fuck about her. She keep getting dudes like this and she keep getting hurt the same way over and over. So we talking about a chick could be in her 30s, bro, and say, you know what? I'm getting tired of getting did dirty by men. Let me go and see what these studs is about. Because this is the thing about studs, and we're going to get to studs later. But they be very persistent. A lot of them be very persistent when it comes to getting at these like heterosexual chicks or just chicks in general. But some of them, again, they not even trying to mess with no chick that got any eyes for any dudes because they have been hurt. So yeah, that's how it plays out. They will grow such a hatred and a contempt for dudes, and they'll be hurt so much that they say, you know what, even with 4 kids, even with all this proof that you love dick so much, a chick will go and get in a relationship with a stud. And one of the funniest things about that is that in most cases, these chicks find out that it is no better than being with a nigga. Because this is the thing about a lot of studs, man. It's not, from what I've seen, most of the studs is not like good guy studs. Like they really just be universally like players for the most part. I'm talking about the majority of studs I've seen in my life get a lot of bitches. And they be toxic and et cetera, all that shit. But the one thing about them, even if they do get a lot of chicks and they be on their player stuff, they will get in a relationship. They will get in a relationship. But before we go on, this is something that I meant to preface this whole female side of things out with. When it comes to male heterosexuality, it's really straight. It's really straight. It doesn't veer off anyway. When it comes to gay men, you know, they are locked in on the gayness, bro. They are locked in on the gayness. They know they're gay. They know what it is, man. It's not many dudes running around saying they bisexual and shit like that. That's not a narrative you see just floating around and dudes identifying as bisexual. Dudes know that they're gay. So that's what it is. Like, there are two sides. There's a strong gate between those two sides. They're not the same. When it comes to female sexuality, the whole spectrum of it, the difference between the male and the like the gayness between males and the gayness between females, the whole female side is just delusion and confusion. Because think about what I said as far as a heterosexual woman. A lot of these chicks hate their way into gayness, or they just want to experiment and see what it feel like to get their coochie. Now, does that mean that there's not chicks who wasn't gay from young ages? No, it's definitely some. But this is a phenomenon, as far as the two things that I mentioned, that is very common. And these are all cerebral things. They're mind things. They're psychological, to where you get to a point in your mind where you either really horny or you just really hate men, to where you go over and try that. That is confusion. Like, you were confused. And the confusion is, they think they want some coochie. They go back and get some dick. They go back and get some dick. You had a whole gay relationship. And you was rocking out for 2-3 years. And then once you get done, you hated niggas. You thought you wanted to see what this shit was about. And now you like, yeah, that stud shit ain't for me. You never fuck with another babe for the rest of your life. Isn't that weird? Is that not weird? But let's get over to the other side. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on studs, because out of every demographic in this video, they have the least to do with the equation of why men don't experiment and shit like that. The only thing is they be pressed. The difference between them and gay dudes is some of these chicks will be just like on some rogue shit, just trying to turn out any chick that they can, whether she heterosexual, bisexual, or just straight lesbian. They be trying to get at any chick. I would like to think that most gay dudes stay in their lane and fuck with gay dudes. Even if some of the gay dudes that they are fucking with are down low, it's all gay. So they focus on where the gay is at. That's what they do. So when we talk about delusion and confusion, that is the stud. That is the embodiment of the stud. You have a woman that is embracing masculinity completely. She wants to be something that she could never be, a man. She begins to dress like a man. She begins to carry herself like a man. Even in her pursuit of women, she pursues women like a man. Women typically don't do the approaching. They typically don't. This chick got to learn the game and she got to get game. So she's approaching the game from a male standpoint. When it comes to the sex, what do? They go and buy strap-ons. They buy strap-ons and they brag on the internet in some cases about they strap and they strap game and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. And they really think that they putting it down when they hitting the chick with that strap. They're trying to emulate what a man is. Now, what I'm about to say is rare, but it happens. There are some studs who the mental illness is so crazy that they will put the strap on and put on sweatpants and go around in public with a big ass 18-inch dick print or like a 12-inch dick print, whatever the size of the fucking strap is, because it's always going to be some unrealistic fucking size. So we'll just boil all of that down to the stud is trying to be something that she could never be, a man. And you got to look at the confusion as far as a heterosexual or bisexual woman. You have grown such a hatred and contempt for men that you go and get yourself a great value man. You go get yourself a generic man. You go and get you an imitation man. You go and get you a stud. You don't go and be gay and go get with a feminine chick. Now, some chicks do. I've seen it. I've seen couples where it's two feminine chicks. That is extremely rare. From what I've seen, that is extremely rare. But these women will go out and seek an alternative. And the alternative is an imitation. It's the craziest shit ever. There's nothing like this. And that is the reason why a lot of them end up going back to men as far as heterosexual men, because it's like, you're not a righteous gay person. And I don't mean righteous in like the real, like, oh, like a biblical sense or something, but I'm saying like, you're not true blue gay. A true blue gay chick is she just gonna rock with the studs, and when she get done with the studs, she gonna go to another stud and shit like that. A good chunk of these chicks is not true blue, like just locked in when it come to the gayness. They just not. So getting piped by the plastic, it just don't take them. Scissoring, it don't take them like that. They begin to crave real cock again. They begin to crave it, and they will cheat on a girl for some real cock. Or they will leave their girl and go back to getting cock with the veins in it. Not the plastic veins that are like molded into, no. Real veins that have blood in them. They're going to go back to that. So again, that highlights, as far as everything that I mentioned, it highlights the confusion and delusion when it comes to female homosexuality as far as a 360 between both parties. So let's get back to old girl and wrap this up.
So you gonna tell me I'm not supposed to sit here and think that the niggas get drunk and experiment just like us? Not even experiment, bitch, because I been gay, but get down with their friends like we do.
Yes, I'm going to tell you, you're not supposed to think that, because that is not how male sexuality works. And this is the thing about that. The one thing that I missed in this video was the liquor aspect. women use liquor as a shield and a fake enabler. It fake enables them to do things that they want to do sexually, but it's a shield because they can blame the alcohol the next day. I have turned down drunk chicks because I already know what it is. I am not fucking with no drunk ass babe. I'm just not doing it. And then the funny thing is, I've had some of them be like the next day, ooh, what happened? Bitch, you was cognizant. You knew exactly what was going on. You knew like, let's cut the bullshit. You wasn't that drunk. A lot of chicks be faking. This is universally known from fucking America to Iran, Sudan, Iraq, and Japan. Everybody knows what's going on when it comes to drunk women. That's what y'all do. Y'all, it goes one of two ways. Either number one, they do get blasted out of their mind and lose control. And that's something that you can't fake. That's not fakeable. You know when somebody is really tore all the way the fuck up. But in a lot of cases, they just be tipsy and they just get a little tipsy and just do a little bit of shots just so they can act fake drunk to do the shit that they want to do and have an excuse to do what they want to do and then blame it on that. You know what's funny about that? It just goes back to their nature as far as their inability to take accountability. That's something I never thought about. The fact that they love to blame shit on the liquor. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not dudes to blame shit on the liquor, but it's not an abundance of dudes running around drinking and then like fighting and then be, oh man, oh man, it was the liquor. That's why I beat his ass. That's not a majority or even 40% of dudes. The shit I'm talking about with women, that shit is so widespread that it's like, oh my goodness, it's so, bruh. It's so universal when it comes to women. But you get the point. She said she been gay, so she know what it is. And she probably trying to experiment with her friends because she gay in the first place. It is what it is. But the liquor is a fake excuse to do some shit you already wanted to do. But this is the thing. There's no amount of liquor that a man could take, a heterosexual man could take, that makes him consider sucking cock. Because that's just not in us. And when it comes to y'all, again, like Buddy said, women's sexuality, it's a fucking abyss, bro. It is just, the shit runs so deep, bro. Y'all are way freakier. Women are way freakier than men. The average woman is way freakier than the average man. And it just so happens that bisexuality is in a tremendous chunk of y'all. A tremendous chunk of y'all are willing to or considering engaging in bisexual activity. And even then, you could hate yourself. Excuse me, you could have such a hatred for men that you decide to do some gay shit to get away from men sexually and even romantically in some cases. Some of y'all want to be loved so bad that y'all will go anywhere to get the love, whether it's to your kids or you get a cat or you get a stud. That's it. Let me know your thoughts. I am gone.